Hey there! Today I was feeling a strange mix of nostalgia and an itching for something half-baked and not quite good enough, so I've decided to take a look back at the Wii U. Now, I wouldn't blame you if you've never heard of it. I mean, this thing is obscure. Released way back in 2012, the Wii U attempted to recapture the more casual market of the Wii and also send Nintendo into the HD era, which was a goal that didn't work out so well. I mean, when you have to specify in your commercials and on Twitter that this is a separate product, you probably didn't do a great job making it a full idea. Man, when this thing was out, everyone was saying it was the death of Nintendo. You know, kind of like they're saying now with the Switch 3. Now, the Wii U was weird. It was like they took the bottom screen from a 3DS, tore it off, gave it a second stick, and then made it connect to the TV for a top screen. And then they made it $300. And they never knew how to properly use it. Sometimes it was integral to the game, sometimes it was just a map and items, and sometimes it did absolutely nothing. Like I said, this thing was weird. But it actually had a pretty decent lineup of games. There was some really great stuff, like the first Mario Maker, an HD port of Wind Waker, the first Splatoon, and even Breath of the Wild was on this thing. Then there were some pretty decent titles like Mario 3D World, Hyrule Warriors, and Star Fox Zero. And then there was just some weird stuff, like this bizarre, unfinished beta version of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 2.0 Turbo Championship Edition that they just called Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. What kind of a name is that? And there was a Paper Mario game, too. This one was really weird, though. I seriously think Miyamoto was smoking weed around this time. Sir, people are asking for a new Paper Mario. What should we do? What if we made it play exactly the same as the one on 3DS that everyone hated, but made the writing really fucking good? Do that, that's a great idea. What's your name? You're promoted. When the hell did I approve this? Like the gamepad, for example. This thing had just about everything they could think of packed in there. There was rumble, an accelerometer, an NFC reader, an infrared sensor, a stylus, a giant-ass screen that for some reason was only resistive touch, and it was super low resolution too. This thing barely pushed out 720p. Just look at the Switch 3, 8K video in the palm of your hand. Oops. Don't worry about it. It happens all the time. They also tried to advertise the gamepad as something super revolutionary that would let you play all your games while other people were using the TV, but you could barely take the thing 10 feet away from the system itself before it just couldn't connect anymore. And again, once the Switch came out, that functionality was just blown out of the water. Another issue with the gamepad was that third-party developers just had no clue how to use it. The third-party support for the Wii U was lackluster, to say the least. After all, Nintendo themselves barely knew how to use the damn thing. That doesn't exactly inspire confidence for other developers. And there were also loads of accessories. There was a Pro Controller, which was worse than the Switch's, tons of grips and cases for the gamepad in an attempt to actually make it comfortable, and a GameCube adapter. Except it only worked with Smash, so only sort of. And of course, they made sure that all the Wii controllers and accessories worked on it too, again to try to recapture that market. So if you had an undying love for all the hunks of plastic to hold Wii remotes, then you're in luck. They were just as useless. Even Virtual Console was on it. Remember Virtual Console? Now you could play all your NES, SNES, N64, GBA, and even DS games on your Wii U. Well, some of them anyway. The list of available games was definitely a little strange. They didn't even have Chrono Trigger, or Final Fantasy, or Zombies Ate My Neighbors. But for some reason they had Super Mario 64 DS? Why would I want to play a way scaled down and then way blown up version of Mario 64 when I could just play the original? DK Jungle Climber was on here, the GBA port of Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island, but not the original Yoshi's Island? I have many questions. Now, Nintendo's never really been one to focus on resolution and console power, but the Wii U is both very late to HD and also severely underpowered. It didn't even reach the strength of the Xbox 360 or PS3, and by the time it came out, the PS4 and Xbox One were already both on their way. This led to Nintendo having a console that got next to no press attention, both because the gimmick was too weird to understand and because it just couldn't compare to the power output of consoles coming out in the next year. But even though the hardware was subpar, Nintendo was still putting out some great games. Like I mentioned earlier, there were some solid entries on this thing, so good that a lot of them just got ported to the Switch. I seriously think that Nintendo realized about a year or two into the Wii U's life that everyone hated it, so they focused mostly on development of the Switch, and then made sure that all the games they had planned for it came out on the Wii U too, so people didn't riot. I mean, seriously, Breath of the Wild was delayed for so long, pretty much just so it could be a launch game for the Switch.
Release date for Zelda Wii U.
Now, I think it's important to talk about the specifics of why the Wii U underperformed like it did. Besides the obvious, I mean, just look at it, it looks like a Fisher-Price toy. For one thing, the Wii market had pretty much all moved on to smartphone games. That's where all the best casual gaming was for a while. Why would you pay $300 for this piece of crap when you could play Candy Crush anywhere you wanted for free? Another reason could be that the commercials for the Wii U were just god-awful. When they announced it at E3 2011, everyone was mostly confused. Was it new? Was it a big honking piece of plastic for the Wii? No one really knew, and they had to clarify, and then every subsequent commercial involved them in some capacity trying to convince people it was worth buying. But I mean, really? No one took these commercials seriously.
DK's in, this is gonna be
bananas.
You're my brother, but I don't know if you're ready.
Mario and Peach together. Me and Gina together.
Okay, attack. There you go.
Once the system started tanking, Nintendo tried to pull off a miracle like they had with the 3DS, but it was too little too late. And then for the next 5 years, they kept trying to make quality games to push out units, but frankly, anyone who wanted a Wii U already had one by that point. And sure, Smash, Mario Kart, Zelda, and a new 3D Mario would be system sellers for any other console, but with the Wii U, it just never gave the push that they were looking for. And for another thing, the price cuts they gave the Wii U just weren't worth it. They made about 1 billion bundles with every major game imaginable, but it still just wasn't enough. There was no huge jump onto the system like there was with the 3DS, because everyone who thought the Wii U was worth getting got it within the first year. And all of this added up to a console that just didn't attract buyers and actually ended up somehow doing worse than the GameCube. It's kinda sad if you think about it. Nintendo tried to cut their losses, but in the end, the only thing they could do was really just the Switch, which, granted, pretty much fixed everything. And look at them now in 2032. They're doing pretty well for themselves. As everyone knows, Disney bought Nintendo in 2024, and then subsequently bought the United States government in 2028, and now every citizen is required by law to own a Switch 3. Well, that does it for the Wii U. It was fun looking back on one of Nintendo's more obscure systems. There's a lot of interesting history to it. Maybe I should do some more videos talking about the history of Disney subsidiaries. Maybe even the history of Disney. You know, I actually don't know that much about them, though. I should do some research first. Viacom! They're pulling the strings. Open up! Oh, fuck.